The Joe Rogan Experience.
I think that we're living in this age now of, like this all the time. Everything is just being broadcast all the time. And there's no such thing as like digging up a past anymore because everyone just puts their life out there. And then you can just go digging through someone's Twitter feed or YouTube history, whatever you want to do. So there's this wave coming up like the Octavio Cortez and people like that are like, yeah, it's all out there. I don't care about that. Here's what I want to do. And I think a generation is going to come up that will go, oh, yeah, I tweeted out stupid shit when I was 18. Yeah, I don't, when was that tweet from? 10 years ago? Doesn't count. Whatever. She was being an idiot. I was being like.
The standards are definitely different now than they were even 5 years ago. But
there's a generation of people putting luminol on people's online history that will die out and it'll turn into. If it was something horrible a week ago, yes, let's talk about that. If you dug up something someone did 10 years ago, everyone's going to go, yeah, you should see this shit I put out. Like that won't land the way that it is now. It just won't
think
land.
our expectations of people are different. We're not under the illusion anymore that these aren't real people. Because we want them to be presidential or we want them to be a representative. We're not under the illusion anymore that they're not real people. It's almost like when they had to admit that WWE was fake. It's like, okay, now we could just enjoy it for what it is. Yeah. You don't have to have these arguments with your friends over whether or not it's fake.
Yeah, but the thing about the WWE that everyone keeps forgetting is, yes, it's scripted, but it's scripted mayhem and destruction. They are scripting out these people, these men and women going, in this script, you're going to fall 40 feet onto a table of glass. Yes, we scripted that to happen, but it's still a person doing that.
Yes.
Like there's a level of adrenaline junkiness and athleticism that goes beyond, I think, athletics.
Yeah.
So when people are like, yeah, wrestling's fake. Yeah, no shit. These people, it's like when you watch a Jackie Chan film, that's a scripted film too. Stick around for the end credits. He just got his skull knocked open.
Yeah.
He punched a hole through his skull doing a stunt. So you're dismissing something. Your definition of fake needs to be tweaked a little bit in this case.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's another way of looking at it. It's definitely scripted. It's not like they're risking it all because they don't know what the outcome's going to be. It's different than an actual athletic event, but it's still pretty badass. Like as far as what they're able to do, I mean, they don't get nearly enough credit for it either. Because while they were doing it before the lockdown, they were doing it 250 plus days a year, traveling all over the country, throwing each other on tables.
In those days, skating was still very much a novelty. And then in the 90s, like X Games came into play, and then all of a sudden, my name was well known, not mainstream, but getting there, and then. Our video game came out, and then it was just like, oh, you're just a sellout.
Wow.
And it was like...
Because of the video game?
Because of the video game and the endorsements that followed from that. I was doing stuff for Jeep, for McDonald's, for Doritos, and they were just like, oh, you're just a sellout. I was like, when I turned pro at age 14, if McDonald's had asked me to be in a commercial, I would have jumped on it. Are you kidding me? Like, I was eating McDonald's my whole life. I still do. So it was more like they thought somehow I changed my values, and was just like, I haven't changed my value system. It's just that I'm getting these opportunities finally. And I've been doing this for most of my life.
For the most part, you're getting opportunities that they're not. So the best way to dismiss that or diminish it is to say that you're a sellout because you're on a video game. Like that's so short-sighted.
Sure. But so what I'm saying is that just sort of steeled my resolve where. So once social media came into play and people were talking shit online, I was like, you're not getting to me through this, through this media.
Right.
People used to say this to my face. Used to write about write about me in magazines. Like, you're hiding behind your Twitter username. I don't care.
When you first saw someone say that you were cheating by using that technique, how bad that must have sucked though.
Yeah, and it was from a skater that I really respected too. Like he was quoted in the magazine, and it was crushing.
Wow, that's such a bitch ass approach. Cheating like that's so weird to me because I never would have. I guess it makes sense because there's always factions in any discipline or any art form or anything where some people respect some things and other people shit on it. But the idea that you doing it your way would somehow or another be cheating is, to me, it seems so strange. That doesn't make any sense.
Like I said, it was just weird because skating was such a small community at the time, and it was like, why are we fighting
right.
in our little tiny world?
It's always going to be that way.
Yeah,
that's just humans. Yeah, especially when you're doing something different, and especially if you're getting attention doing something different, they're going to find some way to diminish you.
Yeah, it was harder for me because all I wanted to be was accepted as a skater. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd kind of given up on my peers, on my schoolmates. I knew I wasn't going to fit in there, and so I was like, I found this thing, and then just like, you guys don't like me the way I do it. Rough.
A real parallel is when you were talking about these large-scale meat processing plants are a perfect sort of petri dish for viruses to grow. So are factory farms. So are these farms where you're stuffing pigs next to each other. You're doing all this unnatural stuff, right? It's unnatural for people to be stuffed into a warehouse right next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, working all day. It's unnatural for them to be stuffed in these homes, shoulder to shoulder, with bad food and all the things that you would need to keep your body healthy and strong. The same can be said about these factory farm situations. One thing that I find so attractive about the way you run your farm is that there's no weirdness in watching these animals during the day. They seem like animals just doing normal stuff. If you see a chicken wandering around just pecking at the grass, looks normal. See a chicken in a cage getting fed out of a little cup or something, it looks all kinds of fucked up, right? It doesn't feel right.
No,
right?
That's why we have the phrase respecting the pigness of the pig and the chickenness of the chicken.
And we know that these diseases are all coming from these places. I mean, there's a ton of agricultural diseases, that are based from these factory farm situations where these animals live in these really horrific conditions, and then the bacteria jump and
look. I mean, look. If you ate in your toilet would you like to eat your toilet every day?
Right. Exactly.
That's how they eat. They're breathing in their fecal particulate matter, which is putting lesions in their tender respiratory membranes, making lesions there. And so when you have those kinds of conditions, and they're not getting exercise, they're not getting fresh air, and so they're not getting salad, they're not getting any vitamin D from the sunshine, and so what happens is you get an extremely concentrated host facility for pathogenicity. That's what happens. You get a very concentrated host facility because there's always a host. They're close to each other. The pathogen doesn't have to say, "Wow, boy, I wonder if I can make it that half mile over to another." No, they're always right there. And so you're right. It's like an incubator. And so if we wanted to sit down, and say, let's say we had a James Bond conspiratist, and said we're going to form a committee and make a pathogen-friendly farm. The old James Bond nemesis, right? And so we form a committee and say, how can we make a pathogen-friendly farm? Well, we would have only one species. We'd crowd it up. We'd take out the oxygen, the fresh air, the sunshine. We'd give it a minimalistic diet. What I've just described is modern, efficient industrial factory farming. You couldn't design a better system for conductivity of pathogenicity.
The government doesn't really seem to have any sort of straightforward plan as to how people can economically bounce back from this. There was one of the weirdest quotes. I think it was Trump that said this. We were talking about businesses and restaurants that they'll be open, maybe not with the same owners, but they'll be open again. Did you see that quote?
No, I didn't see that. But it's like, what does that really mean? Does that just mean like a different business will be created?
That's exactly what it means. It means that he's just being pragmatic and maybe cold, whoever made that quote. That is probably how it's going to go down. Is it? Trump says restaurants will make comeback, just maybe with new owners. Yeah, that's what he said. I mean, that does not make me feel good, man. If I'm a restaurant owner, and there's a few restaurants that I'm always shouting out on the podcast that are owned by friends of mine these businesses are hurting so bad They've went like that to no customers, or a very small percentage of customers who order takeout. When they were, they had dine in every night, and they have these bills, and they had their business set up in a way that, you have to make X amount of money in order to stay open. And they were successful, and they were doing well, and one of the toughest businesses to be successful in. And then all of a sudden, the rug gets pulled out. So what's the solution? Should people just be able to go to restaurants and everybody who works there as a waiter or a cook, or they just maybe get sick and then more people die? Boy, that doesn't sound good to anybody either. So what is the solution? I don't know, but I don't think that in our particular case, I don't think our governor has the answers. One of the things he's been criticized for is he's decided to open up production for television and films, but not churches. There's another thing they've done that's really nuts that my friend Adam Curry turned me on to. They closed Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, but liquor stores were an essential business. That is that's not good government. It's not good thinking. There's so many things where they've put into place these lists of what's approved and not approved. And I just don't think that it's first of all, I think the information's constantly changing. And I think that they're going off this old information and they haven't made adjustments. And then on top of it, I don't think they're qualified to. I don't think they're qualified. Just like we were talking about a president, like one person who's involved in the economy and the environment and all these different things. I don't think one governor can really be smart enough to know, A, what kind of impact it's going to have economically to close all these businesses down, and B, which ones get to open up and what is essential and why. And it's very frustrating for all involved, and it highlights one of the reasons why, the way we do government is it's not perfect. It's definitely better than a lot of ways, a lot of places in the world, but there's a lot of holes in it.